All right, let's see if the audio works.
All right, let's see if the audio works.
All right, we are good. We are live. Let's stay consistent, everybody. Today is Monday, December 4th. I'm back home, so I can share my entire screen right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be analyzing this deal, 3-bed, 3-bath in Katy, Texas, built in 2021. So this is going to be relatively turnkey. It's a subject to deal, which means that in this scenario, we are buying property subject to the existing finance, which means that you're taking over the payments on the project, on the property subject to, and you're not assuming a loan because that's a different concept there. Let's go through the deal details. We have 27,093. So I'm assuming that is the entry fee. Underlying VA mortgage 330 to 952.57. Maturity date 11/1/2051. So this means this property was bought 11/2021. 3.125. PITI is 2907. I'm gonna remember that one. Cash to seller is 9,500. Sign fee is 12,000. Commissions to the realtor, $1,100 to TC. Okay, this seems a little expensive, but let's see what happens. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we are going to get the pictures for the property. So 6306 Loquat Grove Court. Okay, they don't even have street view for this property, but looks like it's in a pretty like newly built property. So I'm assuming this is a newly built community, hence why they don't have street views yet, because they probably don't have a car. Yeah, it looks pretty suburban. This is like a big subdivision that you guys can kind of see here. All right, how far is it from Houston? Done very much west of Houston. Okay, cool. Let me just see if it's in a flood zone really quick, just because I know it's pretty flat. This is a flood zone. I wonder if they're going to charge flood insurance on this one. So there's something to be a little bit careful about when you are looking at properties in Houston. It's relatively flat, so I never know whether or not. So, okay, let's see. So we are going to look at this property. We're going to get the FMR. So by that, we're going to grab the county. This is in Harris County. So what we're going to do is we're going to Google HUD FMR. When you go to HUD FMR, you're able to get the fair market rent. That's what FMR stands for. When you go to access small area FMR, click on FY 2024 number, and boom, we are going to have Texas and Harris County. And this is going to get you guys the zip code, which is 77493. 77493, and that's going to give you the fair market rent, or what I typically call as the ceiling rents by bedroom and by zip code. So 2340 and 3000 is your rent for this property. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at Top Hap. Whoops. Let's do a quick look at Top Hap to see what the crime index score looks like on this property. Boom. Boom. Does it even come up? See, maybe it doesn't come up because it's not spelling right. Court. Oh, maybe it doesn't even have it. Interesting. 6306. Oh yeah, I guess it's that new that doesn't even have this area up. So for the most part, I'm assuming it's a pretty good area, but just in case, let me see if I can find some crime index score for another property here. Back in Nelfro. Let's see. Wise Walk Drive. Let's see. Wise Walk Drive. I'm just fishing here, guys. I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I can get another property in this area, but I'm gonna assume it's in a pretty good area, but I'll just underwrite this deal with the numbers as is, because normally I try to get the crime rate score, but I'm assuming this looks like a pretty nice suburban area, so not much crime. So I'm going to go on a hunch that it's probably on the lower side, but we'll always verify later if I think it's worth a while over time. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to affordablehousing.com, go to the market rent estimator, and I'm going to get the rents for a 3 and a 4 bedroom property, okay? The reason I want to get the 4 bedrooms is because just in case I see an opportunity to increase rents because it's a 4 bedroom, I want to be able to understand what the rents are. So the most important number that I usually pay attention to is this number on the far right, which says, kind of shift this over a little bit so everyone can see a little bit better. Within a 0.72 mile radius, 25 units, Magnolia Home, great offer, rent 20 lines, whatever that is, great area, everything is new. It's good to know, man. I don't know this area at all. I've never visited Houston before, but I appreciate you guys giving me that feedback on that. So for 25 units, 2692, that's the rent I care most about. And let's look at the 4 bedroom rents. 2692, 2839. So you're getting a $200 in bump. But what I'm looking at here is, if you look at the FMR on the HUD website, the fair market rent for a 3 bedroom is 2340. But for a 4 bedroom, it's 3,000. That's a pretty big jump from a 3 to a 4 in that zip code. So that's why I really want to see, hey, what does the market rent look like? And it looks like 2839 is actually relatively close to the FMR for a 4 bedroom. So good to know. I want to make sure I keep that in the back of my head. I want to just look at the condition of the home really quick. It's built in 2021, so I'm assuming everything's in pretty good shape. Normally, I would replace carpet, but if this only been built for a year or two, I'm assuming it's in relatively good shape. So completely your own personal preference and how much rehab you want to do. But yeah, this looks like a really, really new house and dope house at that. All right. Since I'm only into analyzing it for short, long-term rentals, let's kind of go ahead and pull up the numbers. So I'm gonna have the deal details next to me. I'll punch in all these numbers. And then I want to pull up my spreadsheet right here. I'm gonna start with small areas. So I'm going to have, let's see, 27093.58. That's my entry cost. So where is it? Cash or seller is 9,500. 9,500. Let's plug that in. We have 12,000 for assignment. 12,000 for assignment. And then the realtor commission is going to be 5,593. So that's going to be equals 12,000 plus 5,593 plus 5,593. And then I got transaction costs of 1,100. Wow, HOA 3,900. That's expensive. Let me put that guy in. HOA equals 3,900 divided by 12. That's a monthly cost. Rental restrictions, minimum lease 6 months. So you can't even do a midterm rental if you do this for 3 months for your hospitals. So I don't like that limitation, but I'm only doing Section 8 anyways for this property. So 2,907. So my underlying mortgage is 332,952. Let's plug that guy right in here. 332,952.57. 3.125 is the interest rate. The maturity date is 11/1/2051. So I'm assuming this is a 30-year mortgage. So it's going to be 11/1/2021 as my original date. What other information do I need from here? That is pretty much it. So for this property, I'm going to assume there's not much renovations on this property because it looks pretty turnkey. I had about, let's see, let's kind of go through it. I'm just going to plug in money to paint it just in case it's got dinged up and the pictures don't look good. But I'm not going to renovate the floors here. It already looks like an above average rental, especially for an affordable housing rental, even though this is the quality that I would prefer. So let's see. Yeah, let's go plug in the square footage, which is going to be over here. Again, for those of you that want to copy of the calculator, just DM me your email on Instagram at investwithkenhe. I'm assuming there's no roof issues here. No need to really clean the landscape. I don't really see that much stuff here because I'm assuming the budget to paint the place or that I have set aside for the place is more than enough to cover any sort of rehab for this property because it's so new. I'm zeroing out all these other stuff. Not even assuming there's any termite issues because it literally just got built a year ago. Not assuming there's any water heater issues. So right now it's 9,000, but I'm dividing it by half because I think it really shouldn't be that much of a rehab. I mean, it looks pristine for now. So our monthly income rents. Now, when we put in the FMR earlier, right? We put in the FMR of 2,340 for a 3 bedroom, and then we put in a rent for 4 bedroom. 4,000. All right. Purchase price. Good call, man. I forgot about that. Good call. So the purchase price is going to be equals the subto balance plus the cash to the seller 342. And I'm getting that number because I'm taking the underlying balance plus the cash due to seller. That's how I determine the purchase price to kind of plug that guy in. And since we're up here, and anyways, we're going to take the PITI of 2907.92. So in my property tax estimate, I'm at 2902.92 minus the sub-2 loan principal minus the sub-2 loan interest. And that gives me to my property tax number and an existing insurance number. So I'm always going to add an additional $30 per month for an insurance policy for an investment property, just to be a little bit more conservative there. I got 10% for my maintenance. I got 8% for my property management. And then I got, how long will this property cash for your entry is so high? 1% real keep wholesale and the rest doesn't matter, dude. Off loan funds. Okay, I'm not following. Okay, property management 8%, vacancy 3%. We've got a fair market rent 77493 at 3 bedrooms, 77493 at 4 bedrooms. I quickly pulled in all of the rents that we saw earlier for the 3 bedroom here: 1950, 2100, 2230, and 2692. Now, I care about the 2340 number because as is a 3 bedroom property, right? But there is a test. It's called the rent reasonableness test for affordable housing. And that is typically a housing authority will say, our rent ceiling is $23.40, so we're not going to pay more than that. Unless you're in a very high expensive market that I've heard of, such as New York City or Boston. I've heard of cities and counties paying above the FMR, or they go 110% of those numbers. So that could be a scenario there. It was the opposite, meaning if you look at the rents for the 4 bedroom, where you see that the 4 bedroom rent is $3,000 for the FMR, fair market rents, but you compare that to $28.39 for the market rent, the housing authority will say the max we might pay you is going to be $28.39 because you are not allowed to charge more rent to a voucher holder simply because they're a voucher holder. So they're not going to pay you above market rent. So you might argue that, hey, $28.39 is pretty close to $3,000, but I like to be a little bit more conservative and just say, hey, if I get $28.39, am I going to be able to cash flow to this property? The problem is, man, look at how expensive this PITI is. No wonder you're losing $2,000 a month on this property because after you set aside 10% property management and 2340. Let's see how much you lose. You're losing $1409 on this property. Negative 2409. That is not even close. Wow, the property taxes are crazy in Texas, huh? Those are some really expensive property taxes. Jeez. 2409. You're not even going to be able to play around the scenarios to make this a deal. 2839. So I guess I'm not buying properties in Katy, Texas. Never analyzing a deal again in Katy, Texas. Just kidding. You never know, right? Unless you get a 0% entry fee on these deals. Negative 30% return, even if you're getting the maximum rent at $28.39. Yeah, that's a no-go. I'm assuming the PITI is so high. Let me look at the PITI. Yeah, they said this PITI is 2907.92. So I'm assuming most of this is from the property taxes, so that doesn't work. Austin, you asked how long would this property take to cash flow if your entry fee is so high? I don't even think this property cash flows, to be quite honest with you. Now, the mistake some people might make, well, what if I don't set aside money for my maintenance because it's such a new property? You could make that argument, but then is that money really yours? Maybe you change that to 5%. Will that make such a big difference? Nah, you're still so far off from making a deal. You could argue like, hey, it's a 2021 property. Maybe I don't have enough maintenance, and you might be able to adjust some of these levers. Yeah, you can make it 5% just as you talk it out loud, but you're not really touching anything else. Some folks might say, let's take out the property management entirely. I don't really agree with that because why do we get into real estate, right? It's for time freedom. You really don't want to be spending your time answering and ruining your vacation, taking these calls. I mean, I have an Airbnb and I promise to take care of for my partners, but it's not the best feeling when you're on vacation and you still have to answer calls from your residents about Wi-Fi and everything, right? It's just not the time freedom you want. So if you don't underwrite with a property manager in place, then you have essentially bought yourself a property and a job, not just a property. So just think about that and think about your own situation. But for the most part, this does not look like a deal. So I'm going to stop here. If it was an on the market property, we would have gone through and look at different scenarios like, hey, what if I get a 10% down, or what if I get 15% down? And a subject to deal, typically what they have agreed to is you're already getting a benefit by buying a loan that's less than the market rate for what interest rates are typically going for. They're going for like 7 to 8.5% right now. And that's just not what I am going for personally. So this is not a deal, but hopefully all of you will find it's useful. Please DM me on Instagram if you do want a copy of the calculator. I've been very fortunate. I've been given this calculator by other folks, and I've been able to modify it to kind of meet my underwriting standards. I know it sometimes go kind of fast, but as you get more and more practice, you kind of just understand like, hey, what sell affects what sell, and what does that equate to, and how do you actually maneuver the deals? It just takes practice, right? So this is why I'm doing it for 100 days live straight. And if this is useful, maybe I'll keep on going. But right now, this is a good habit to build for all of you, so that if a deal ever comes across your table and slaps you in the face, you can recognize the deal. So this is the fun part, but also the non-exciting part. People like to flash Lamborghinis, Ferraris, but you kind of have to put in the work and analyze deals every single day to make sure they actually make you money. And because if you don't make money, you can't really help people. So awesome. Have an amazing Monday, everybody. We'll be back here again tomorrow analyzing more deals. Have a good one.